Jon Moxley just did the unthinkable and sent a message to Cody Rhodes on WWE programming that has completely shattered every boundary between WWE and AEW, and what's absolutely infuriating is that WWE either allowed this cross-promotional chaos to happen, which means everything we thought we knew about wrestling's forbidden door is a lie, or this is the most elaborate work in wrestling history designed to make us believe something impossible just occurred. I'm about to break down exactly what Jon Moxley said that has the entire wrestling world losing their minds, why this message to Cody Rhodes is either the beginning of the most revolutionary moment in modern wrestling or the most disrespectful violation of professional boundaries we've ever witnessed, and why Cody's response or complete silence is going to determine whether this changes everything or means absolutely nothing. Before we go any further, let me be crystal clear about what allegedly happened on SmackDown because the details matter and the confusion is intentional. During a backstage segment, Cody Rhodes was being interviewed about his upcoming championship defense when suddenly the feed cut to static. Not the polished WWE production static, but genuine technical difficulty static that lasted several uncomfortable seconds. When the feed came back, there was a message on the screen in that gritty, handheld camera style that's become synonymous with Jon Moxley's AEW presentation. The voice was unmistakably Moxley's, that gravelly delivery that sounds like he gargles with broken glass. And what he said sent shockwaves through everyone watching. Cody, you thought you finished your story? You thought winning that WWE Championship meant you completed your journey? You finished WWE's story, the story they wrote for you, the story they needed you to tell. But you and I both know there's unfinished business between us. You know where to find me when you're ready to have a real fight instead of playing champion in your father's house. Drop your immediate reaction in the comments. Was this actually Jon Moxley sending a real message to Cody Rhodes? Or is this an elaborate WWE work that we're all falling for? I need to know what you think because the wrestling world is divided right now. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Jon Moxley is under contract to AEW. He's one of their top stars, a former AEW World Champion, and quite possibly the face of that company alongside MJF and Omega when he's healthy. For him to appear, even in video form, on WWE programming would require negotiations, contracts, legal agreements, and the kind of cross-promotional cooperation that neither company has shown any willingness to engage in beyond the occasional respectful acknowledgement. So either this is completely fake, a WWE production using a sound-alike and manipulated footage to create buzz, or we're witnessing a seismic shift in how wrestling companies interact with each other. Both possibilities are equally fascinating and equally problematic for different reasons. If it's fake, if WWE created this without Moxley or AEW's involvement, that's potentially actionable from a legal standpoint. You can't use someone's name, likeness, and voice for commercial purposes without permission. AEW could have grounds for a lawsuit, Moxley personally could take legal action, and WWE would have crossed a line that even they historically haven't crossed. They've referenced AEW before, they've acknowledged their competition exists, but they've never explicitly used contracted AEW talent in their programming without deals in place. If it's real, if this was somehow coordinated between WWE, AEW, and Jon Moxley, then we're looking at a completely new landscape for professional wrestling. It would mean both companies see value in working together, even if just for this specific angle. It would mean the wrestling business has evolved beyond the territorial mindset that's dominated for decades. And it would mean anything is possible going forward. Question for the comments. If this leads to an actual match between Jon Moxley and Cody Rhodes, should it happen in WWE, AEW, or a neutral third-party promotion? Because the location matters almost as much as the match itself. Let's analyze what Moxley actually said in his message because every word was chosen carefully, whether by Moxley himself or by WWE writers pretending to be him. The phrase, "you finished WWE's story," is particularly loaded. It suggests that Cody's WWE run, his championship victory, his emotional journey, all of it was manufactured by WWE's creative team rather than being Cody's authentic journey. That's a shot at both Cody and WWE simultaneously. Calling WWE your father's house is even more pointed. Dusty Rhodes is a WWE Hall of Famer, yes, but he was never primarily a WWE guy. Dusty made his name in the NWA and WCW, territories that WWE eventually absorbed or outlasted. By framing WWE as Dusty's house, Moxley's suggesting Cody's success there is based on legacy and nepotism rather than his own merit. That's designed to infuriate Cody and make him want to prove himself in an environment where his name doesn't carry automatic respect. The real fight comment is Moxley's signature challenge. He's always positioned himself as the guy who wants authentic, violent, no-rules combat rather than sports entertainment. By suggesting WWE doesn't offer real fights, he's diminishing everything Cody's accomplished there and positioning AEW as the place where legitimate competition happens. That's promotional warfare disguised as a personal challenge. But here's where it gets interesting. Cody Rhodes has history with Jon Moxley that predates both of their current situations. They were in the Shield together in WWE's developmental system briefly, though Dean Ambrose, Moxley's WWE name, went to the main roster first. They've had matches in various promotions over the years. And most significantly, they were both instrumental in AEW's early days, with Cody as an executive vice president and Moxley as the company's top champion. Their relationship is complicated by the fact that Cody left AEW under contentious circumstances. He was frustrated with his position, felt limited creatively, and wanted to return to WWE to finish his story. Moxley stayed loyal to AEW, became even more central to their identity, and has occasionally made comments that seemed directed at people who left for WWE. So there's genuine history and possible genuine animosity that makes this message feel more real than if it were about two people who'd never worked together. Drop a comment. Does Jon Moxley have a legitimate grudge against Cody Rhodes for? Calling WWE your father's house is even more pointed. Dusty Rhodes is a WWE Hall of Famer, yes, but he was never primarily a WWE guy. Dusty made his name in the NWA and WCW, territories that WWE eventually absorbed or outlasted. By framing WWE as Dusty's house, Moxley's suggesting Cody's success there is based on legacy and nepotism rather than his own merit. That's designed to infuriate Cody and make him want to prove himself in an environment where his name doesn't carry automatic respect. The real fight comment is Moxley's signature challenge. He's always positioned himself as the guy who wants authentic, violent, no-rules combat rather than sports entertainment. By suggesting WWE doesn't offer real fights, he's diminishing everything Cody's accomplished there and positioning AEW as the place where legitimate competition happens. That's promotional warfare disguised as a personal challenge. But here's where it gets interesting. Cody Rhodes has history with Jon Moxley that predates both of their current situations. They were in the Shield together in WWE's developmental system briefly, though Dean Ambrose, Moxley's WWE name, went to the main roster first. They've had matches in various promotions over the years. And most significantly, they were both instrumental in AEW's early days, with Cody as an executive vice president and Moxley as the company's top champion. Their relationship is complicated by the fact that Cody left AEW under contentious circumstances. He was frustrated with his position, felt limited creatively, and wanted to return to WWE to finish his story. Moxley stayed loyal to AEW, became even more central to their identity, and has occasionally made comments that seemed directed at people who left for WWE. So there's genuine history and possible genuine animosity that makes this message feel more real than if it were about two people who'd never worked together. Drop a comment. Does Jon Moxley have a legitimate grudge against Cody Rhodes for? WWE's response to this message during SmackDown was fascinating. They didn't acknowledge it happened. The interview with Cody continued after the static cleared as if nothing had occurred. Cody didn't reference the message, the interviewer didn't ask about it, and the show moved on to the next segment. That could mean WWE wants to pretend it didn't happen because it was unauthorized, or it could mean they're playing the long game and will address it when the time is right. Social media has been absolute chaos since this aired. AEW fans are claiming victory, saying even WWE acknowledges that AEW talent is more legitimate and dangerous. WWE fans are calling it desperation from AEW, trying to piggyback on WWE's success and relevance. Smart fans are trying to figure out what's real and what's worked, and everyone's demanding answers that nobody seems willing or able to provide. Tony Khan, AEW's owner and booker, hasn't commented on this at all. That silence is conspicuous because Tony usually responds to anything involving AEW quickly, especially if it's controversial. His silence suggests either he's involved and has been told to stay quiet, or he's as confused as everyone else and consulting with lawyers about what just happened. WWE hasn't issued any official statement either. Their silence is less surprising because WWE rarely acknowledges things that happen on their shows that aren't part of their planned narrative. But the lack of immediate damage control or clarification suggests either they planned this and want the confusion, or they're still figuring out how to respond to something unexpected. Let me present the most likely scenarios and you tell me which one you believe. Scenario 1. This was entirely a WWE production, unauthorized by Moxley or AEW, designed to create buzz and make people talk about SmackDown. The legal ramifications will be dealt with behind the scenes, probably with WWE paying a settlement, and nothing will come of it storyline-wise. Sheena. Scenario 3. This is the beginning of a legitimate working relationship between WWE and AEW for specific talent and specific storylines. Jon Moxley versus Cody Rhodes is happening, possibly at a major event, and this is how they're starting the build. Wrestling is about to change in ways we can't even imagine yet. Question: which scenario do you think is most likely, and which scenario do you want to be true? Because those might be very different answers for most of us. The financial implications of cross-promotion are enormous and complicated. WWE and AEW are competitors fighting for the same audience, the same sponsors, the same television time slots. Working together in any capacity means helping your competition succeed, which goes against every business instinct. But it also means access to dream matches, fresh matchups, and content that fans are desperately asking for. WWE probably doesn't need AEW's help. They're the dominant company with the most money, the best television deals, the greatest history. But AEW absolutely benefits from any association with WWE because it legitimizes them in the eyes of casual fans who still see AEW as minor league compared to WWE's decades of dominance. So any deal would have to benefit WWE more than it benefits AEW, or WWE has no incentive to participate. Unless the incentive is Cody Rhodes himself. If Cody wants this match, if Cody sees value in proving himself against Moxley outside the WWE system, he might have enough political capital right now as WWE champion to make it happen. Cody's the guy who finished his story, who's over with fans in ways few wrestlers are, who's proven he can be trusted with the company's top prize. If Cody says, "I want this match and I think it's good for business," WWE might listen. But would Cody want it? That's the real question. He left AEW for specific reasons. He's accomplished everything in WWE he set out to accomplish. He's comfortable and successful. Why risk going back into the environment he left, even for one match? Unless there's unfinished business with Moxley specifically that Cody feels he needs to address, it doesn't make obvious sense for him to pursue this. Let's talk about what a potential Moxley versus Cody match would look like because the styles are fascinating. Cody's WWE style is polished, story-driven, built around big moments and emotional peaks. He's excellent at making people care about the narrative of his matches rather than just the moves. Moxley's AEW style is chaotic, violent, unpredictable. He thrives in environments with minimal rules where he can push boundaries and create uncomfortable, intense moments. A match between them would need to find middle ground between WWE's production values and AEW's freedom. Too much WWE structure
Drop your match
and it doesn't
prediction.
feel like a real fight.
If Moxley
that would
versus
justify
Cody
Moxley's
happens, who
challenge.
wins and how?
Too much AEW
Because the result
chaos
matters
and it doesn't
enormously
fit
for
Cody's
both
current
men's
credibility
credibility
or
and both
WWE's
companies'
reputations
standards
and practices.
Here's what I think is
Finding
actually
that balance
happening,
would be the
and I
creative
could be
challenge
completely
that
wrong,
makes or
but this
breaks
is
the
my
match.
read
On the situation. I think WWE created this message without AEW's permission or involvement, using careful wording and presentation that allows them to claim it was a parody or homage, rather than explicitly using Moxley's persona. It's legally gray area that they're willing to operate in because the buzz is worth potential legal issues. I think the goal is to see how people react, gauge interest in cross-promotional content, and possibly use that data in future negotiations with AEW about working together. This is WWE testing the waters without committing to anything. If fans go crazy for it and demand the match, WWE can approach AEW with evidence that it would be profitable. If fans shrug and move on, WWE can ignore it and pretend it never happened. I think Cody was aware this was happening and gave his permission for his name to be used in this context, but he's not necessarily advocating for the match to actually occur. He's comfortable letting WWE try this experiment and seeing what comes of it, but he's not driving the process or demanding it happen. And I think Jon Moxley himself had no involvement, found out the wrestling business everyone is built on works, and is currently deciding whether to be flattered, where nobody's ever completely sure about WWE using his situation embodies that confusion perfectly. If he makes we're all trying to figure out what's authentic, about whether this could ever become legal and what's possible. And that confusion is exactly what makes it compelling television and compelling conversation. Here's my challenge to you. Share this video with every wrestling fan you know and ask them what they think is happening. Get the conversation going because wrestling thrives when we're all debating and speculating together. Hit that like button if you want this Moxley versus Cody match to actually happen, and drop your complete theory in the comments about what's really going on behind the scenes. Because here's the truth. Whether this message was real or fake, authorized or rogue, the beginning of something or a one-off stunt, it doesn't matter as much as the fact that we're all talking about it. WWE created a moment that has wrestling fans engaged, confused, excited, and demanding more information. That's the goal of any angle, to make people care and want to see what happens next. Jon Moxley sending a message to Cody Rhodes, real or fabricated, has accomplished that goal. Now we wait to see if WWE has the courage to actually follow through and give us the Forbidden Door match we all want.